Welcome back to the NFL Trades Podcast, the podcast where we bring up trending NFL topics and break them down for your enjoyment. Today podcast we'll be covering OBJ's possible location landings, what will make sense for him, and versus like what has already been said already, and then we'll tell you what really should fit for him. Because certain teams won't actually be the right team for him, but there'll be rumors or fans will make things up like the Bears. We'll get into that. We'll go over the Bills-Rams game that's happening today. Football's back, baby. It's been so long. It's been so long since we've had football, but it's back. It's back. And we'll go over like injury reports, predictions that I have. I have a prediction. I know what team I want to win, but we'll go over that. There's key players I want you guys to watch during the game. Not necessarily the best players on the field, but just players that could have a very big impact in the game. And then we'll talk about like off-season additions, any subtractions that any of the teams made, both teams made. So like, oh, well, this player is now on this team, and this player is now on that team, and this player's gone. And one of the players went from the other team to the other team, and he's pretty big. Lastly, we'll be ranking QBs, and we'll go over the news that happened this week. So let's dive right into it. So OBJ has been a free agent ever since the Super Bowl, and if you watch the Super Bowl, OBJ, he got hurt, tore his ACL, out for the rest of the game. But the thing was that he claimed, which I don't know if I really believed, but he claimed that he had torn his ACL halfway through the season. And I don't know. He just claims that, but I can't disclaim it. I can't say it's wrong. A lot of people are saying he's wrong, but we have no proof. There's no doctor that proved it. But he says he's been hurt ever since the other half of the season, since the first half. So we don't know if that's true, but with that being said, he had to get a surgery right after the Super Bowl, and then he claimed that the surgery went well, which a doctor proved, and it's actually kind of sad because he had a surgery back with the Browns that kind of screwed him over in a sense, but this surgery actually worked out very well, and he's rehabbing very well. So there is a great chance he gets signed by a team in the upcoming weeks of this season. And he even joked on Twitter that he might sign with the team that wins this Bills-Rams game. But who knows? I really have an idea of where I think he's going, but we'll have to see. And with this in consideration, it's unlikely any team really has any crazy interest in him other than the Rams, because the Rams want to get him back. I mean, players and Sean McVay, they've all said they wanted him back. They all said it. Sean McVay was talking at a press conference, and he really, really likes OBJ. He talked with what was it? Who was it? I think it was Collinsworth on his podcast. Or no, it was the Rich Eisen show. He was talking about how he would love to have him back, and then he was just glorifying OBJ, which he should. Because OBJ had a great performance in the Super Bowl. One of his touchdowns was super important, but no one really talks about it because he got hurt in the second half of the game. So there's about, I think it's like 5 teams that are really showing interest in OBJ. But I think so. Let's go over the one in April. There was rumors that the Patriots were talking with OBJ back in April. Before they had, I think it's before they traded for Devontae Parker, but I could be wrong. But they were talking with him, and I don't know. I just think the Patriots should go with what they have, and I think they understand that now because I have not heard anything since. I haven't heard anything since about Patriots exploring things. But who knows? They could talk about it. I know Patriots fans would be like, "Oh, we should sign him." But no, I don't think you guys should. I think you guys should go with what you have and just deal with it. I mean, maybe you sign a free agent wide receiver, but like I don't think you waste big bucks on OBJ. I don't think it's necessary. And ironically, another team that he's could go to is the Bills. And the Rams are playing the Bills, and like we said, he'd go to one of the teams that wins this game today or tonight. And there's no actual proof that the Bills are interested in him. But Von Miller and OBJ have been going back and forth on Twitter talking about getting him a locker spot or blah, 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 and just talking about getting him on the team. And, you know, they're good friends. They won a Super Bowl together on the Rams, so they're good friends. But I've not seen anything about Bills making an offer or Brandon Beane talking about how he wants to get him. I mean, he has admitted that he's listened to what Vaughn has had to say about OBJ, but, you know, there's nothing there. It's just rumors and Twitter talk. I mean, it would be a great fit. But I don't know if the Rams need to spend big money for him. So I think maybe they reconstruct somebody's contract. I don't know necessarily whose contract they would reconstruct, but if they reconstruct, maybe Allen's, maybe Josh Allen, but I don't know. They convert his signing bonus to salary to a signing bonus. And maybe they can reconstruct that way, but who knows? I don't think it gets done, but we'll have to see. Browns and OBJ, they were rumored to have mutual interest, not just Browns interest in OBJ. OBJ wanted to go back to Cleveland, and primarily because Deshaun Watson's there now, but that was before the suspension. And even Amari Cooper's there too, so that kind of, like he can complement his game. Amari Cooper could complement OBJ, and OBJ can take some of the coverage off of Cooper. But unfortunately, his LSU buddy gone. He's now back in the Bayou. He's back with Louisiana. He's back in Louisiana with the Saints. So he says, OBJ says, "Oh, everybody's there that was there when I was gone. Everything that I want, everything I love from Cleveland is there." But that's a lie. But yeah, with this 11-game suspension that the NFL just recently gave to Watson, it's unlikely he chooses to return in Cleveland. But, again, like I said, we don't know anything. We literally don't. All this is speculation and what we've heard. But what we've heard isn't really enough to be like, oh, yeah, he's going to this team. He's going to that team. And we know this team's going to put an offer out. No, we don't know any of that. This is all speculation from the facts that we know. No question he'd fit in that scheme. He was in it before. Coordinators haven't changed. Coach hasn't changed. All that's changed the QB situation. That's it. And we believe, I personally believe OBJ didn't like Baker Mayfield, but again, speculation. His dad posted something on Instagram back, I think it was last season, about how Baker Mayfield could make a throw, and it was like, what? It was like, bro, you are a grown man and you're doing this, but who knows? We could talk a whole podcast about how screwed over Baker Mayfield got. He got so screwed over, but it's okay. It's okay. We respect these players. All right. Now let's get into my personal fits that I believe would be best for him and best for the team going to them that he would go to. I was going to start with the Cowboys. So the Cowboys lost James Washington in the preseason. And Cowboys lost Amari Cooper in the offseason. And CeeDee Lamb is just standing there alone. And I believe if they get him, if they get OBJ, CeeDee Lamb will have a career year. He will have a beautiful season. I'd say a Pro Bowl season. If they sign OBJ. Now, their rivals, the Giants, which he's already been on, but I really believe that it is worth it for the Giants to go investigate for OBJ. They just created cap space by reconstructing Leonard Williams' contract, and we'll get more into that later. But it would give so much firepower to that weak wide receiver. Yes, it is weak. Giants fans, come at me in the comments. It's a weak wide receiver room. The only thing they have going for them is Wan'Dale Robinson and Kadarius Toney. But then it's like, okay, you have Kadarius Toney, Wan'Dale Robinson, and then you just trade the rest of them. You trade Sterling Shepard. You maybe might have to just release Golladay because it's just been that bad. You try to get pieces off Sterling Shepard. I don't think they possibly can, but you attempt to do it because it is worth it to just say, this didn't work, let's go on. And I really believe if Daniel Jones doesn't do it this year, they get rid of him too. And they rebuild. And then they find their piece that they can build around, because that team can be good. It's just, I just feel like the offensive firepower is just not there for them. This is probably my biggest. This is what I've been talking about, because there's so many wide receivers that I believe could fit in Green Bay or should go to Green Bay, because it would benefit not only them but the Packers. But for OBJ's sake, him in Green Bay, he could become a wide receiver one and lead that team if he stays healthy. If he stays healthy, he could be wide receiver one, and it would just make that room so much better than it is, because everybody's been, they got Christian Watson. Romeo Doubs is doing pretty good in the preseason. They got two experienced guys, Sammy Watkins and Randall Cobb. But then you have those people that are like, this is the worst wide receiver room we've had in years. So, because they lost Devontae Adams, which is a given. But when you lose that guy, it's going to impact your team. There's no doubt about it. Top 2 wide receiver, I don't care what you say. He's top 2 wide receiver. I don't care. Some people might argue he's not 1, so that's why I say top 2. Some people might argue Cooper Kupp. Some people might have some random-ass dude in there, like Tyreek Hill. If he stays healthy, though, this could be it. And what do we know about the Packers? What do we know about Aaron Rodgers? He makes every player on that team better than they already are. That's what makes a really good quarterback. They elevate their players. They make their players better. And what does Aaron Rodgers do? He makes all those players on that offense better. He can help linemen too. I've seen things where he talks to linemen. Same with Brady. I've seen things where they talk to linemen and they tell them, this is what you can do. You can do this. And they've never played the position before, but they help them. And they make them better. They make their whole team better. They sometimes make their defense better. But OBJ going to Green Bay, to me, sounds beautiful. Sounds like what should happen. But I really think the most plausible one would be the Rams. Re-signing with the Rams, because it's like, if they offer, he's gonna want it, because he knows. He even said on Twitter, Rams and Bills, I believe this is that's what I was saying. He said exactly what I was saying. I was saying this is the preview for the Super Bowl. These two could go to the show, is what he said. And that's exactly what I was saying right when the schedule came out. I was like, wow, we have a Super Bowl possible preview in Game 1. Game 1 of the season. We have probably the two best teams. And I hate to say it, but NFL power rankings suck because Rams should not be as low as they are. Oh, but they lost OBJ. They lost Von Miller. They lost Andrew Whitworth. This team's still really good. Team is still really good. But I mean, I can't go into that because we're going to go into that later. But yeah, I really do believe the Packers would be the best choice for him to make. But he can go back to the Rams, and that's still a really good choice. Finally, the Ravens. The Ravens. So they got Prochet, they got Bateman, and they got Duvernay. Now, to you, what does that sound? What do you think of when you think of those three players all in one thing? Like, what's one thing you can categorize them with? They're young. They're really, really, really young. And with that being said, OBJ can provide some experience. There's a lot of experienced free agents right now, which makes sense because usually when you're 28, and if you're if you're not in your prime, you're not doing the best, you might see yourself in free agency sitting there. And we have a lot of veteran wide receivers like T.Y. Hilton, OBJ, Deshaun Jackson, which I think Deshaun Jackson's going to retire. We had Emmanuel Sanders, but we'll get into him in a little, literally right after this. But you have those guys in free agency that the Ravens could take a stab at that I really think would help this team. Because that's what the Packers are like, okay, we're losing Adams, and a lot of these guys are young. Let's get some experience. And they kept Randall Cobb, which made sense. And then they went out and got Sammy Watkins. There's your experience. And they could add more with OBJ, but we'll have to see. And I really just believe Odell and Lamar in the same offense could just be so, just like your abilities on offense are just limitless if you have these two on your offense. The plays you can run are just crazy. I mean, we've seen Odell do those throws. And can you imagine just Odell throwing one to Lamar on like a Philly special type thing? Can you imagine? That would be, and then Lamar catches it, and then he just does some running back moves to get around his defenders. Oh my gosh, that would be so fun to watch. Because not many wide receivers can do those type of plays. You can't just have a random wide receiver do that. It is not easy for a wide receiver to make those throws that they sometimes do. I mean, dude, Odell's throw to Saquon that one year. What? Dude should be playing QB on some of these teams. I mean, holy crap. But with that, I mean, with this idea of experience in mind, let's transition to the news where we found out yesterday that Emmanuel Sanders is retiring. So let's remember his 12-year career. He went to 3 Super Bowls. 3 Super Bowls, that's pretty impressive. He won 1 with Peyton Manning and Demaryius Thomas, the late Demaryius Thomas, rest in peace, in Super Bowl 50. He wasn't like a key player in that, but he still won the Super Bowl. It's still world champion. He had 2 Pro Bowls. He played 12 seasons for 5 teams, and he had about 704 catches for 9,245 yards, and he scored 52 touchdowns. But yeah, he just had such a great career. He battled his way and, got that spot in Pittsburgh. And him and Brown were just like a really 1-2 punch combo, and it was really fun to watch. And then he says, you know what? I don't think I'll benefit in this situation. Goes over to Denver, which he does very well there. Then he has his years in Saints and Bills. And I forget the other team. Forget the other team that he went to. 49ers. 49ers he went to. So he had some pretty good years. I think he really did good for the Bills. That was his final year last year with the Bills. Final year, he retires as a Bronco. But, oh my gosh, he played so good for Buffalo. I really believed a team out there could use him. And that's what I was talking about in the free agency. He was a top 4 wide receiver. Somebody could have used him. Somebody could have needed him. But he decides to retire, which I respect. I respect it. I always respect someone retiring because it's their decision. And they might believe that there's no opportunity for him. But we'll have to see. Maybe he comes out of retirement if a team needs a wide receiver, because you know how that goes. Injuries and injuries and injuries. We hope that there's none this year, but it definitely could happen. Definitely could happen. But let's get into some transactions that occurred. So we have last night the Rams, and they re-signed one of their offensive tackles. I'm just gonna say offensive lineman because I don't know if he plays tackle or guard. It's I don't even know if I can pronounce his name right. It's Rob. Oh my gosh. Let me see something here. I knew it was Rob Havenstein. It's a tackle. I was right. So right tackle Rob Havenstein. It was a 3-year contract. That's good. They make sure they keep that line because they lost some pieces in the offseason. They lost Corbett. They lost, obviously, Andrew Whitworth, who retired. So keeping their pieces is very important. Make sure Matt Stafford has time to throw. That's important. And big one, a very big one, that's kind of underrated, is Dawson Knox got a 4-year extension with the Bills to keep playing up until 2026, which is important because that means that solidifies him as that number 1 guy. And we already knew he was the number 1 guy, but he's going to be there for a long time. I don't think he gets traded. I don't think nothing happens. I think they stay with him, and they don't draft for another 3 years for another tight end. But the big one that a lot of Jet fans are going to be mad about, Zach Wilson's not even playing till week 4, if not even later. There's possibility he doesn't play till week 6, week 8. We have to see. We have to see how he does with that knee injury, and if he's going to come back a certain time during week 4. But as of now, your starting quarterback is Joe Flacco. So have fun with that. But we know what he can do. We know he can run an offense. That's not a problem. It's just you wanted to watch Wilson play week 1. You wanted to watch because last year, big off year, but this year you got more weapons. You got just an overall better team and a younger team that's hungry, ready to produce, ready to get at it. But unfortunately, you won't have your young stud at quarterback that you were hoping would have a sophomore rise. But who knows? We'll just have to wait till week 4 or later to see if he can have that year that everyone wants him to have. Jason Peters signed with the Cowboys. Add some depth after the Tyron Smith injury. And I'm sure the Cowboys did this because they weren't very confident in Tyler Smith. I really do believe it because I saw lineups that were coming out after Tyron Smith got hurt talking about, Tyler Smith's not in the first 5. He was your first round pick, and they don't have him in the starting 5 for offensive linemen. And the offensive line just looked so bad. It looked horrible. All they had on that lineup was Zach Martin, and that was it. And it was astounding if the Cowboys were to go with that because Dak would be so screwed. And Dak, we don't know him as a crazy, throwing out of pocket QB. He's more of an in-pocket QB. But Jason Peters, veteran, very good, very good. If he can return to what he was playing like before he left off the free agency, he could be what makes his offensive line better, and he can replace Tyron Smith pretty well. But replacing Tyron Smith is not an easy task. Tyron Smith is one of the best tackles of this decade. So replacing him is not going to be super easy, but Jason Peters should be, I believe, good enough. Jason Peters actually said he called this Cowboys back, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, he called the Cowboys an arrogant franchise when he was playing with the Eagles. And then recently they asked him about it because it was blowing up on social media. The reporters asked him, "Are they arrogant?" And he goes, "No, they just had swagger. They just had swagger back then." And I was like, okay. He tried walking around it. So back into the free agency or the cap space. We were talking about with the Giants and other teams that might get OBJ. The contract restructures were TJ Watt, Tyler Higbee, and Leonard Williams. All teams trying to make cap space. And I'm assuming that Tyler Higbee cap space could be for OBJ. So they're saving up cap space so that they can make that signing when OBJ is ready. Because I don't think I got into this, but OBJ is not going to sign with the team until he's okay to play. That was kind of what I got from it, and what other NFL reporters were saying. No team's really gonna offer him something until he's ready to play, which makes sense. It makes sense. Because the rehab might go a different way, but right now, as of now, his rehab is going fine, and OBJ is going to be ready to play sometime early in the season. It's just a matter of time. But I couldn't tell you why TJ Watt was getting his contract restructured. They're probably trying to make something, big signing before the season, but we'll have to see with that. And Leonard Williams, again, people were speculating that the Giants will go out for OBJ. And that's what led me to picking them as one of their fits, or one of his fits. But I don't think he'll go there, but he would fit there. You know what I'm saying? I don't think the Giants would offer something, but I think they should. But Who knows? Who knows? Honestly, who actually knows? Because nothing's really been released. Let's go over some of the news that we saw happen. Colt McCoy is going to be out. So your backup quarterback's going to be Trace McSorley coming off the practice squad for a couple weeks. So if Kyler Murray gets hurt, we got McSorley on the dime throwing passes to Marquise Brown. And guess what? Not DeAndre Hopkins. AJ Green and Rondale Moore. But we'll have to see how the Cardinals can do. A lot of people are saying the Cardinals are going to do bad, which it could happen. It could happen. It could happen. I don't personally think they're going to do as bad as all these people are predicting, but I do think they're not going to have as great as a year last year. Last year was really good, but I don't think it's going to happen again. Eagles placed Dillard and Andre Dillard, offensive tackle, on injured reserve. Following his surgery, he'll be out for about 4 to 6 weeks. And the Eagles signed wide receiver Auden Tate with that roster spot. So they added some wide receiver depth. That's good for them. Trubisky got named as the quarterback 1 to start week 1. We already knew Geno Smith is going to be the starter for the Seahawks. So that should be good, and we'll get to some QBs. We'll talk to some QBs after the news. Van Jefferson's going to be out. He didn't practice. I don't think he's going to be playing. But we'll get to the injury report in a second here. I just want to go over one thing. Ronnie Stanley's going to be playing again, or he's going to be playing probably week 1. That's the goal, most likely. And lastly, it looks like the Panthers had signed a veteran, Henry Anderson, and they also signed Preston Williams and Marquise Blair to the practice squad. Preston Williams was playing on the Dolphins and wanted out. They couldn't get something done. He got released, so Panthers picked him up to the practice squad. Let's now get into the injury report for the Rams-Bills game. The Rams-Bills preview. What do we think is going to happen? What do we think is going to happen in this game? We know it's going to be a brawl. We know it's going, like I said, it's a Super Bowl preview. We know it's going to be crazy. It's going to be insane. Going to be a good game. Great first game for the season. So I'm excited, and you should be excited too. Rams, and then maybe you're listening to this after the game. I don't care. If you're watching this before the game, well, who knows? Maybe I don't even upload this before the game. But if it happens, if you're watching this before the game, just know it's gonna be crazy. And I hopefully, if you're watching this after the game, I was right. Hopefully, all my predictions are right. Rams, like we just said, Van Jefferson did not practice. He probably won't be playing. But Stafford, Henderson, Ramsey, they're all supposed to play. They were talking about, they're not going to play. They're Stafford, elbow, all that stuff, not going to play. But here we are, and they're all looking like they're going to play week 1. McVay said they're very confident that these guys will be playing. But Stafford said something the other day about his arm that he might not play. But here we go. It's most likely he'll play. Bills, a couple people that didn't practice. Not really of the extraordinary. You have Tommy Doyle, Quentin Morris, both backups. So maybe pull someone off the practice squad for that game, but other than that, nothing too crazy. Maybe elevate somebody. Very good, very, very important. Isaiah McKenzie and Jordan Poyer, they had a full practice. That's very important. Isaiah McKenzie Isaiah McKenzie could provide some depth for them, underrated depth, because he was having a year. He was having a year 2 years ago. He was having a crazy year, and then they didn't go to him as much. But he had a groin injury, but he looks to return. Jordan Poyer's elbow is a little screwed up, but he looks to return. They both had full practices, so they're set to play. And Tim Settle, his calf was hurt, but again, he looks like he'll be playing. So now let's get into our key players of the Rams-Bills game. Rams. I didn't talk about him when we were talking about additions. Allen Robinson replaces OBJ so well. He replaces him so well. And I really do believe it's not going to be so split to where Allen Robinson and Cooper Kupp don't mesh together. I really do believe that Robinson's going to make Cooper Kupp better. And I think Robinson's going to be that just beautiful wide receiver too, because he can still be a wide receiver one on a contending team. I really do believe that. But now that he's on a contending team and he is their two, that's going to make them so much better than you actually think. And I really do believe that, because what it does is, because what would the Rams do? They'd go to Cooper Kupp. They'd get him open. They'd do all their thing. He was like, as much as we love Deebo Samuel and Cordell Patterson for doing it all, Cooper Kupp could do it all too. Maybe not do the running back, running back plays, but he could do it all. He could really do it all, and it was not really seen that much that he could do it all, but of course we saw so many things on Instagram, Twitter about what he can do, but we didn't see all the other plays of what he was actually doing. We saw his route running, we saw like big throws that he had, but like screens, blocking. He can do that. He can do all of that. He can do everything you want from a wide receiver. Everything you want from a wide receiver, he can do. And that's why he had a good year, is because he bettered himself. He made himself better by becoming a very versatile wide receiver. Versatility in the NFL is so important. That's why Cordell Patterson, that's why Deebo Samuel we're having just great years, because Falcons offense, not much looks to give. Not much power. I mean, you have Kyle Pitts and Calvin Ridley, who had pretty good years until Ridley was mental health issues. Kyle Pitts was having a great year, but Cordell Patterson was just able to thrive in that offense. He was just able to thrive, partially due to his versatility. Cam Akers, this is a big one. If he can get off to a good start, he could get a lot of carries, and really prove himself, because that's what we're looking for. We were looking for him to prove himself in this game, because we know he has that high ceiling, that high upside. And then now with Darius Williams being gone for the Rams, I think Troy Hill will be somewhat an impact player. I think he can make an impact immediately. And I want to see how this defense does and how he lines up against Gabe Davis, because that's probably who he's going to be lining up against. And obviously Ramsey's going to be on Stephon Diggs. That would be fun to watch. That would be really fun to watch. I don't think they've ever matched up against each other, because they both left their respective teams and they switched conferences. Diggs was on the Vikings in the NFC. Ramsey was on the Jags in the AFC, and then Ramsey goes to the Rams, and then Diggs goes to the Bills, and they both switched conferences, I think, around the same time. So I don't know if they really played each other, unless the Jags played the Vikings really back then, but that's back then. If so, then they haven't really, played against each other or ran it against each other in a while. But that will be a fun matchup. That'll be a fun matchup for sure. Bills, David Quesenberry, he's replacing Spencer Brown, so we'll see how he does. Rookie Kyrie Elam, this could be very impactful, because we were talking about how he could have a beautiful year because he is NFL ready, and then we watched him in the preseason, and it was kind of a problem child. We don't know what's gonna happen. But it's preseason. We have to wait for the regular season. We have to see how he does against top tier talent all game. We have to see that. Lastly, Dane Jackson. I think that's the other corner. So Tre'Davious White out for 4 weeks. Taron Johnson's going to run the slot. And he's been there. He knows that defense. He knows the defense pretty well. But Dane Jackson hasn't been a cornerback two. Hasn't been their cornerback two. So this should be. Or am I saying that wrong? I think I'm saying his name wrong. Hold up. That's gonna irritate me if I'm saying his name wrong. No, I'm saying it right. Yeah, so he's Dane Jackson, young, 2020 draft, young. And Kyrie Long, obviously young. He just got drafted this year. So you have really young corners going up against Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson. So, that right there is why I'm going to pick that. That could be the reason. I'm going to pick the team that I want. But Rams linebacker core, their safety, their defense is so good. But yeah, with those young, that could be the hole. Every defense has their holes. That could be the hole that allows the Rams to just go off. So if Stafford plays, I really do believe he could tear down those holes and take use of it. Lastly, before I go into my prediction, we'll go into the off-season additions. So, in the subtractions for both teams. So, Rams, they lost Darius Williams, Von Miller, Andrew Whitworth, retired, went to the Jags, and now playing against them. So, Darius Williams, we'll see how he does. He definitely will provide so much for that defense. Oh my gosh. It'll be insane. But Von Miller now playing against his own team. So it should be fun to watch. Whitworth, he'll be doing analysis. I think he's going to be an analyst. Don't believe I know where or what he's doing exactly, but he's gonna be in the booth. So that's cool. And they lost OBJ, of course. But they added Bobby Wagner, which we haven't gotten to really talk about this podcast. Bobby Wagner apparently is one of the best linebackers still, according to PFF and other NFL rankings. But he should definitely add some, leadership, experience, all that, everything. He'll add to that defense. And, Rams haven't been really known for having that big inside line, number one inside linebacker that can really read a defense and really lead the defense. But that's good that they have that now. And Allen Robinson, obviously, we talked about him. We talked about him enough now. He'll be a key player for sure. And we've already talked about Kyrie Elam and Von Miller. Those are the two guys the Bills signed. I couldn't really find anybody that was too important that the Bills lost. But we'll have to see. But with, like I said, the defensive holes that are occurring in tonight's game, I really do believe the Bills are going to win, or the Rams are going to win this game. Bills might be projected to win because of their number one power ranking in every list, even my list. I still think the Rams will win this game, and this fairly well could be a preview of what's to come in the Super Bowl. But we'll have to see. Now I'm going to go into let's get into the last thing for today's podcast. And that is my top 32 quarterbacks for each starting team. Let's get into that. We're going to just briefly go over it because this has been a pretty long podcast, but we're just going to briefly go over it, and I'm going to tell you guys my thought process. So, Aaron Rodgers, back-to-back MVP. We'll give him a number 1. We're going to go 1 to 32. Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. Tom Brady just arguably could have won the MVP, so I had to put him number 2. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. This is still like a really just arguably one that you can contest. You can really say one for the other and one for the other. A lot of people are saying Josh Allen should be number 3. Sorry, I'm a big yawner. It's because of my jaw, but Josh Allen could be number 3. Could be number 4. I don't think he's anything else other than that. I don't think he's 1 or 2. I really don't. I don't think it. I don't. Maybe 2, but I don't think he's the best quarterback going into the season. Because this is the ranking the 32 starting QBs going to the season. Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, same thing. They're interchangeable. You could say one thing for another, say for another. But I have Justin Herbert at 5 and Joe Burrow at 6. I think Justin Herbert, he's had 2 years. He's proved himself. Burrow's proved himself for a year. So if you're comparing them, which we are, you're going to have to say Justin Herbert has had better career. Because, this is going into the season. It's not based off career. Because if it was based off career, Tom Brady's over Aaron Rodgers. But Justin Herbert has proved himself. And I feel like he's more consistent quarterback. With Joe Burrow, you can have like those breakout games, those really big games. But Justin Herbert can have that too. But Justin Herbert's just the more consistent quarterback. But Matt Stafford, I have it 7, and I do believe he's up there. I believe he's top 7. I don't have anybody, and I don't care what you have to say about Russell Wilson. You haven't seen, last year was just a fluke year. Last year, he's injured, comes back. We don't talk about last year for Russell Wilson, but I have him at 8, but I don't think he even touches Stafford. I think the top 7 is solidified. Those top 7 QBs I just named are solidified, and I don't think anyone really touches him. I think you can have Lamar Jackson maybe in that conversation. But, again, I have Russell Wilson over Lamar Jackson. I have him at 9. A lot of people are going to be like, oh, 9? What? You won the MVP a couple years ago. Yeah, a couple years ago. We have to see something from Lamar this year because last year was just off. Last year was an off year, and it just happened. It happens. Every QB has their off year. But injuries, stuff like that, it's gonna suck. I can't really say that word. I gotta bleep that out later. But Lamar could have a breakout year this year, and like I said, if they sign somebody like OBJ, something could happen. Something really could happen because OBJ, as much as I don't like talking about OBJ will just make this team better, OBJ is the top free agents right now. OBJ is the top free agent, like the most notable free agent that could be signed right now. So I really do believe he can make any team better. Derek Carr, I have at 10. Maybe he goes up. He's just continued to have good years. He's consistent. He's really consistent. I have him over Dak Prescott at 11 because I really do believe Dak is kind of he's kind of like not as good as everyone makes him out to be. But I do believe Derek Carr, Dak Prescott, they're in the same tier. They are in the same tier. And again, you could argue Dak Prescott, but I really do believe Derek Carr is the better QB. And I think he might be the better QB this year too. And that's what we're really talking about. This is really a prediction. This is what I think who's going to play better. I could have said maybe Josh Allen has because I predicted the MVP. I predicted Josh Allen was going to be an MVP this year because it's leading up to it. It's leading up to Josh Allen with the MVP. But the next one, I have Kirk Cousins over Kyler Murray, which a lot of people are going to say. A lot of people are going to argue about Kirk Cousins at 12. But I really do believe Kirk Cousins is just more consistent. Kyler Murray can't read over the middle. Drops out of the pocket too early. Does a lot of things and an inexperienced QB would do. So if he just learns that stuff and watches his film and does this and like the simple things, he could be a top quarterback, like a top quarterback. There's nothing he can be a really elite quarterback if he gets that stuff together. His height is not just going to be the only he can make his height be the only issue. And I mean, there's nothing he can do about his height, but not being able to read the middle sometimes because of his height, that sucks. That really sucks. I watched some film on him, and it was just horrible to watch some of the wide receivers literally open in the middle, and he can't hit them because he doesn't see them. But Kyler Murray could have a breakout year still, but he don't got firepower like that. He doesn't have, I know they added Marcus Brown, but it's not like it's crazy. It's nothing crazy. But next I have Matt Ryan, Jalen Hurts, Baker Mayfield. A lot of people were saying 16 Baker Mayfield. It was either, I can't believe you'd have Baker Mayfield that high. You have him in the top half of the QBs, and then the other people were like, thank you for respecting Baker Mayfield. I feel like he gets too much hate because of how he left the Browns. And I'm like, yeah. Dude was playing really good before his labrum injury. He was playing really good. And if like I said, if I heard this correctly, rehabbing very well from the surgery that he got right after the season, he'll be really good for the Panthers. And he won that starting spot. He won that starting spot almost immediately because this man is on a tear. This man wants to whoop the Browns for week 1. He wants to whoop them. So I really do believe he can have a good year with the Panthers because I do believe he can really work with DJ Moore. I really do believe that one. I have Matt Ryan at 14, Jalen Hurts at 15, and like I said, Baker at 16. But Matt Ryan, I think he just has a little bit of an edge on Jalen Hurts. We still need to see more from Jalen Hurts. I really do believe it. Weaker playoff performance, but overall, Jalen Hurts is kind of he's making himself some room in the NFL, and I really like it. I really do like it. And top 15, that's really good. Really good because a couple years ago, we wouldn't have said top 15. We wouldn't have been close. Because it was just not looking great. But last year, played really good, and I have him top 15. So now let's get in the latter half of the 32. I have Ryan Hill at 17, and I think these guys, what was it? I think you can argue Baker Mayfield, Ryan Tannehill, Mac Jones, those three are all in like their own tier. I really do believe that. They're kind of just pocket QBs. Well, they're just QBs that will do their job when they need to. And so and that's where I'd have Jimmy G. I'd have him somewhere around here, but he's not the starting QB anymore. And that's why I'll have Trey Lance later because we don't know what Trey Lance can do. We don't, and we've heard a lot about him. We'll get into that here in a second. But I have Ryan Tannehill 17, Mac Jones at 18, but Jameis Winston at 19. I think he could do better than what I have projected, but we have to see how good he can do. But based off what he was doing last year before his injury, he's having a really good year. And now with Jarvis Landry, Chris Olave, Michael Thomas is back. He could do better. He could do more. And I really think he's fixing that interception problem. I really do believe that's going to go away. I really do believe it. I have Carson Wentz at 20. Some may be mad that I have him over Trevor Lawrence or Jared Davis Mills or what, but Carson Wentz just your veteran QB. I mean, he's nothing more than that. He'll provide you really good insight, really good just knowledge and being able to make throws that need to be made by an NFL quarterback. But he's just basic, just really just basic, and we'll have to see more from him with a new team, Commanders. But You don't know. You don't know. You don't know what you're going to get from him sometimes. And this is basically based off of the Jags game that they lost at the very end of the season. That screwed them over for making the playoffs. That right there should have just been, he's an NFL quarterback playing a weaker team. Should have just put him away. But he struggled. They really just struggled at the end. Trevor Lawrence, Davis Mills, the best rookie. I mean, the other better rookie quarterbacks out of the draft, 2021 draft. And I think Trevor Lawrence has a little bit of an edge over Davis Mills, but I think a lot of people are like, oh, why do you have Trevor Lawrence so high if he was like one of the worst quarterbacks? He wasn't. He has so much more upside than Zach Wilson right now, and we've seen things that he can do. The team was just so bad. The team was so bad. Like what do you expect out of a rookie quarterback to just make that team, elevate them so much and make them so much better? No, he's gonna make plays. He made plays. Problem was, interceptions. It's like, but the team was. I mean, same with Zach Wilson, but it's hard to compare the two because they're on two different teams. But I really do believe Trevor Lawrence has more of an upside than Zach Wilson, and we'll have to see. Davis Mills played so good. You could have Davis Mills over Trevor Lawrence, and I'll agree with you on that. Maybe even over Carson Wentz. I wouldn't say over Jameis Winston, but you could have him maybe in that 20 spot or 21. But I really don't believe Carson Wentz is better than Trevor Lawrence. I don't believe that Trevor Lawrence is as bad as everyone makes him out to be. And I think Trevor Lawrence is better than Zach Wilson. I really do believe that. I have Tua here. Tua could either be 23 or he could be 12. He could be 13 or he could be 26. It's really going to depend on how good he does with this offense. This offense is amazing. This offense is going to be so fun to watch. But for the offense to be fun to watch, he has to make these quality throws. He has to make these offensive plays work with this team, because this power that he has, firepower he has in the running back room, the wide receiver room, the tight end room, he has to make do with that. I know the line's not the best, but they got Terron Armstead. Robert Hunt was showing some strides last year. I mean, this line's not going to be the greatest, but it's going to be good enough. I really do believe it's going to be good enough for him to have the ability to do what he needs to do to win games. But that's on him. A lot of this is going to be on him, on whether they succeed or not. Jared Goff, I've after. There's not much to say about Jared Goff. It's Jared Goff. It's Jared Goff. There's not much to say about Jared Goff. Mr. Trubisky, I have a 25, which might be a surprise to some, but I really do believe he's gonna benefit in this offense. I really do believe it. He really got screwed over by Matt Nagy, and I think everybody can agree when we say Matt Nagy was a horrible coach, and we do believe he's gonna do better. But I have to go a little bit quicker here. Jacoby Brissett, 26. Justin Fields at 27. I really hope Justin Fields can make it in the top 25. I hope he can make top 20. But I really do believe he can do that with a new coach, more pieces. But yeah, a lot of people have been saying the Bears are going to do horrible. But I don't believe they're going to be the worst team in the NFL, like a lot of people have been saying. I have Zach Wilson after that. We'll have to see week 4, week 5, whatever. Trey Lance. This was a hard one because we haven't seen him play a regular season. So this is the only guy we haven't seen play a regular season game ever. So we have to hope. Well, I think he played a regular season game last year, but we haven't seen him really be the starter. We've seen him come in for Jimmy G, but we haven't seen anything. I don't know if he actually came in last year. I don't recall that. But anyways, we have to see. It was a hard prediction. I just put him at 29 because I know he has more upside than Marcus Mariota, which I have at 30. And Daniel Jones I have at 31, which some might say, oh, he's not that bad. But yeah, he really needs to step it up. This is his last year in New York if he can't make something do. Geno Smith have at 32, which is like, I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like, it was, if Drew Lock's on here, he gets put at 32 too. I mean, as much as, Pete Carroll says both these guys are quality QB1s, I don't believe it. I don't believe it for a second, but we'll have to see. Who knows how good the Seahawks team does this year. But Geno Smith, I mean, when he was with the Jets, it was awful to watch, but he had a really decent year when he stepped in for Russell Wilson. So, I mean, we'll have to see. He could very well do good. He's still got DK Metcalf. He's still got Tyler Lockett. It's just that line that really scares me. But that's going to cap it off for today's podcast. Thank you for joining me on the NFL Trades Podcast. And make sure, if you're not even following me on Instagram, follow me on Instagram at NFL Trades or on Twitter at NFL_trades. And that's been all for today's episode. And I'll see you guys next time.